Today I'm continuing my series on EXTRAFI, and I want to highlight something specific that you can do within the protocol. So if you haven't watched the previous videos I made on this, I suggest you to do so because it will give you an overview, a clear overview of everything you need to know about this, the token itself, and the way to leverage the potential of the protocol itself. All right, so with that, I'm going to jump into whatever I'm covering today. So like I said, I'm highlighting something or a way specifically to go about leveraging EXTRAFI and another protocol called Metronome. If you don't know what Metronome is, I also have videos about it. I did a couple. I'm gonna also do more. Refer to them on my channel, and I'm gonna leave a link to a few of them in the description below as well. All right, so right now what you can do is that you can leverage both the capabilities of EXTRAFI and what Metronome provides you. So what I mean here is that when you go on EXTRAFI, there are two pairs that are MS related assets, so Metronome related assets that you can use to farm additional rewards on Velodrome. Again, if you don't know how EXTRAFI works, please refer to prior videos in order for you to understand how this happens. All right, so there are two assets that you can use on EXTRAFI right now, and those assets are MS ETH and MS USD. The pairs of both of them, all right, are MS ETH with wrapped ETH or ETH, MS USD with USDC. Now, the stable pair MS USD with USDC can go up to 3x leverage, whereas MS ETH, wrapped ETH or ETH can go up to 7x. Now, if you want to reach 7x, you would need to stake 2000 V tokens, so V extra. All right, so to get those V tokens, you have to lock up extra tokens. The rate you have to see for yourself once you do that, because it's not quite clear right now. So if you want to understand how the extra token facilitates your way to earn more on the platform, again, the prior video tells you exactly what you need to know. And right now, if you go max leverage on both, liquidation price on the USDC side is 0.9 per USDC, and on the ETH side is 0.9 as well. But if you go with 5x leverage on the ETH pair, then the liquidation price is 0.78. So the two ways to get both MS assets is one through Velo. So you exchange ETH for MS ETH, for example, leveraging the liquidity pool that exists there, or MS USD for USDC, same thing. That's one. Two, you can get them from Metronome Synth, meaning you deposit collateral and then you mint the MS token up to 80%. Now that's up to 80%, keep in mind. So in order for you not to get too risky, it should be less. And here comes the pros and cons for using both ways. So if you're doing that through Velo, so if you're exchanging the assets directly, the thing is, the pro is that you're gonna have 100% of your capital to farm with. Now the con is that you're gonna have 50% plus exposure to the MS asset, meaning if that drops in value, so does your capital. But it's supposed to be pegged, but you know, unfortunate circumstances could happen due to several factors. Most of them were labeled in prior videos, like Oracle disruptions, liquidations, so on and so forth. So keep that in mind. Now, if you use Metronome to acquire those assets, sure, you get up to 80%, you know, in terms of money, capital that you can farm with, but you don't have you kind of have zero exposure to these MS assets because they're not yours to begin with. They are borrowed assets, and your initial capital is still in ETH or BTC or OP or USDC, right? And the downside is that you can get liquidated on Metronome if liquidation price falls to the ratio, meaning you're gonna lose that capital, meaning with that being said, your option one is better, all right? But again, it depends on your risk appetite and how you want to approach this and how much you are willing to farm with, all right? And keep in mind that there are yield-bearing assets on Metronome. So on top of that 80% capital, for example, if you go, you know, maximum leverage, there are VA assets, so Vesper related assets, that you can use to earn on your deposit on top of what you earn with those MS assets on Velodrome and EXTRAFI. So there are options, there are ways to go about this. Again, it depends on you. There is no best way, there is no one way. You can de-risk by trying several strategies, so on and so forth. I want to highlight one thing though, that VA, so Vesper assets, I also spoke about them in the video I made about Metronome v Vesper and how you can smart farm using that equation. So refer to that if you want to learn more. So that is the premise, and that is the way, or that is what exists now in terms of leveraging Metronome on EXTRAFI to try and optimize your yield at the end of the day. But with everything, there are caveats and there are things that you need to know and things that you should be aware of. One, like I said, the MS assets can fluctuate in price. They are never equally one-to-one with their peers, all right? Never. It could happen, but that's very momentarily. So in general, there's always a small fluctuation, and understanding that this fluctuation can drive equity value of what you deposit on EXTRAFI in terms of going up or down on a daily basis. But because this is a long-term vision-oriented type of protocol, the daily fluctuation shouldn't bother you. And in order for you to understand why it shouldn't, just take a 10% cut from today's price if it drops, and then project it for 1 year and see if you make money then or not. So try to take the worst possible scenario and project it on a yearly basis and see if that is still profitable or not. That's how you understand that this is a long-term play, all right? Because at the end of the day, the earned value that you see on your position is not something to go by. What you care about is the profit, so your equity value that is auto-compounding over time. Because the earned value is just whatever was earned on Velodrome, and then you have interest paid because you borrowed funds at 3x, 4x, 5x, 7x leverage. So at the end of the day, what you care about is that equity value that is either in the green or in the red, all right? And when you enter a farming position, you're gonna see two figures. So you're gonna see an APR figure and an APY figure. Focus on the APR figure because this is what you will potentially earn on the money you have today. Whereas the APY figure is that what you could potentially earn in a year once that equity grows and it's auto-compounding. Hence, you earn the APR on a higher amount in terms of equity value, all right? But that is cyclically and that is not 100% guaranteed. If at some point, for example, God forbid the asset drops a lot and then you are in the red, so now your APY has decreased, you know, below the expected APR that you started with. You see, because you have less money to earn with now, meaning your APR is on that amount, aka APY has decreased as well. So, you know, don't really rely on these figures. Just think about what could happen, you know, after at least a quarter. Don't fixate on the day-to-day fluctuation in price. And de-risking opportunities exist on EXTRAFI if you want to take some funds and park them in the lending pools. That's raw APR. So that money is 100% guaranteed no matter what. Granted, it's significantly in some cases lower than what you could earn on specific pairs, but the risk is almost non-existent. The only risk I would highlight here is that if the protocol was exploited or hacked and those funds were taken. But other than that, if you believe in what is the protocol about and the security behind it, then this shouldn't bother you, at least for the short term, all right? So here it is. Here's everything that you needed to know in terms of how to go about this. And like I said, if you are skeptical about what the price of an MS asset could be, I can just go right now, for example, and choose MS ETH wrapped ETH. If I click on farm, one moment, let me just connect my wallet. So if I click on farm right here, and then if let me drop and choose 5x, because like I said, 7x, in order to get that 7x, you'd need to have 2000 V tokens. So that's like perhaps like 20,000 extra tokens. By the way, the price right now is about 2 cents per token. So if the price remains, let's push this to half a year. If the price remains as is, so 9955, you're earning 33% on your money. All right. If the price remains as much. If it drops even to 97, which is highly unlikely in my opinion, because I think the only time it actually dropped significantly is when the curve exploit happened, and that was quickly recovered. So that, scenario is highly unlikely. You still earn 26.8% after 180 days, which is quite impressive on an ETH pair. All right, so keep that in mind when you wanna use that protocol and when you wanna leverage everything that it gives you. All right, so don't just jump the gun and hope for the best at the end of the day. Use all the information possible to understand the risk and the reward, and if you're okay with waiting and if you have a long-term vision at play here, then you're fine. Okay, with that, I think I'm gonna stop talking about whatever I'm referring to. I'm gonna stop rambling. I think that's enough for the purpose of this video. I hope you got some value out of this. Honestly, I really do. Any questions, feel free to reach out to me personally or on our Telegram group or on Twitter. Link to all of these things are in the description below. And if you're not part of our Telegram group, consider joining. It is a very cool room, cool individuals, lots of interesting and healthy discussions. You won't regret it. We'll be happy to have you. And with that, see you in the next one. Have a good one.